Hello, and welcome to another impromptu answer to one of your questions. A question from Sean. I'll read it out loud. Something that has been on my mind in the last week or so after various conversations with women over what they want from men. I raised exclusivity as a topic, and it certainly set off some fireworks. Almost all of the women said they would never be with a guy who wanted to see other girls. I suggested to them this was a question of ego, but this made them even more fierce in their insistence of exclusivity or nothing. Hans says, I never promise exclusivity, but I always promise inclusivity. Thus my question to Hans is, what is the basis for this? Why do you say this? And how many women have actually rejected this and not wanting to be included? A couple of questions, I'll answer them all. Um, to me, this is a classic example that there's a difference between what women think they want and what they really need from us. And this will make sense with the whole talk here. I'll conclude with it. First of all, what do I mean when I say I never promise sexual exclusivity, but I never promise exclusivity, but I always commit to inclusivity? It means I never assume, demand, or promise sexual exclusivity, but I commit to inclusivity. And that is it first and foremost. I first and foremost commit to inclusivity, which means if this woman is a partner or a friend, I will share with her whatever she wants to know. And I will take her into account with everything I say and share. Her desires, the way she talks, the way she is. I will be inclusive of her. A consequence that to me is the core of an open relationship, that you share and that you feel free to share and that it's celebrated what you want to share. A consequence of this is that I don't demand, promise, or assume sexual exclusivity. Sexual exclusivity can be a consequence or something you agree upon. I don't do it in my particular case, but more important than that is that I don't assume it. I don't assume it, I don't demand it, I don't promise it. I've seen in so many relationships that it is a surrogate solution to appease the fear of losing the other to someone else who's better than you, the fear that his attention will go to someone else, because that's the core fear that's at the basis of our jealousy. I say this to women literally, and then I give this example that makes it clear to them. I say, imagine your boyfriend, your husband goes on a business trip and he comes home and says this, scenario one. I went on a business trip, honey, and I met this girl. We got drunk and like we ended up together. We hooked up. I wasn't really, I was a drunk fuck and I feel really bad about it. And, I'm sorry, but I wanted to share it with you. Scenario one. Or scenario two, your husband, boyfriend comes back from that same business trip and says, honey, I want to tell you something. I met this woman. It was incredible. She's like my soulmate. We connected so deeply. It was like she finished my phrase. I think I'm in love, but I didn't have sex with her. Which scenario is worse? I asked the women. And almost invariably, they say that the second one is way worse than not having sex but being in love. And so it shows to me that the act of fucking the penis into another pussy is not what we really fear. What we fear is that his attention is turned elsewhere, that someone else is the number one. And so that is the basic fear that women have. And that is what we try to amend when we demand or assume a sexual exclusivity from the other. It is not needed. What is needed is that you're inclusive of her. What is needed is that you make her feel like she's the queen. What is needed is that your attention is on her. I've seen this time and time again, that when I do that, what I do with other women is of way less important. It is not important. I hope that makes sense. Now, this is, the question was, why do you say this? Because it's true. This is very true. I know from experience I cannot promise sexual exclusivity. It doesn't mean I will jump on anything that moves, but it does mean I want the liberty to do what I want, to do what I feel, because I take her into account. Now, do women accept it or not? Invariably, I've seen it that women will accept this. It is never because of this talk that women will walk away. They will at least try it. And I've seen that it is not my lack of promising sexual exclusivity which is the issue. It's my commitment to inclusivity which is the issue for most women. It is too intense for them. the way I communicate, the way I relate, the what I promise, but also what I demand from her in terms of inclusivity, in terms of communication, in terms of connection with each other, is way too intense for most women, and they have more problem with that than with the non promise of sexual exclusivity. What other note did I make? Oh, back to Sean's question. I want to say this. If you're in a relationship and the girl does not accept it, it is probably because you have not accepted it. You still feel guilty about not wanting to promise sexual exclusivity, and therefore she will pick up on it and not agree with you. Or yeah, she won't agree with you because you're not clear about what you really want. Uh, the way forward is to keep expressing it. You keep expressing what you think you want until it becomes very clear to yourself what you want, until you accept it also, until you fix it within yourself. I hope this makes clear. This is a real case for me of the difference between what women think they want and what women really need. What women think they want is sexual exclusivity. That's why they're reacting so strongly. That's why they also answer this when you speak about it. But what they really need is for you to include her in everything you do, to make her feel like the queen, to put your attention on her. That's why I say I commit to inclusivity. I never promise exclusivity. Talk to you guys later.